All right, so number 5 is another geometry problem. We can see another composite figure where it appears we have a square, right? It's a square because both of those sides are 3 inches. And then we have 2 half circles attached to that square to make a heart, right? Now, the first question, of course, especially since it's a word problem one, is to determine if we care about perimeter or area. So as we read through, a company receives an order for 50 pieces of fabric in the shape below. Each piece is to be dyed red. To dye 5 inches squared of fabric, 2 ounces of dye is needed. How much dye is needed for the entire order? Oh. Well, I'm not going to just dye around the edges, so I'm not dealing with a perimeter question. And I have the added benefit of them using square inches here and letting me realize that we're dealing with area. So this is an area question, which means that we need to deal with our 2 figures. So first, let's do the easy figure. We have that lovely square that was 3 by 3, right? This guy. Well, area for a rectangle, which is a more inclusive version of a square, right? Is just length times width. So our area for the square is 9 inches squared. Okay, then we got to deal with our circle. Now we could do this as 2 halves. We have a half circle and we have a half circle. But hopefully I recognize that I put those 2 halves back together. I have a full circle here, right? Now circle's area we know is 1/2, not 1/2, what is wrong with me? It's a triangle, pi r squared. So we need to figure out our radius. If this whole side is 3 inches, then we only care about half of it. So our radius is going to be 1.5. So that's what we're going to use in our formula. Instead of 3, this is going to be pi 1.5 squared. And again, I know that there's half a circle, but there are 2 halves. So we have a whole circle if we were to just put this back together. So no reason to do this as a half a circle and then do it twice. So I just need to plug this in. I have my pi 1.5 squared. So 7.07 inches squared. Cool. So nice and important here that I recognize this. It also makes sense. Double check your work by just looking at your 2 areas. It doesn't look like the square is that much bigger than the circle or vice versa. So if for some reason you did your math here and got out something a little bit bananas like a 40, you'd realize this area is not that much smaller than that. I mean, you should be able to fit this circle. If we drew the circle, it would fit inside of here. So it should be less than the 9, but it should be close to the 9. And so both of these look reasonable in terms of being less than but close. So our overall area, we're going to add these together because we have both those things together, 16.07 inches squared. So this would be a ton of points just doing this portion. Recognize we need in the area and giving me the correct area for this composite figure. Now, we need to figure out how much dye we need for the entire order, so not just one of these stupid hearts. So this is when we're going to use those train tracks. We are going to start with 50 pieces of fabric. That's our start, and we want to know how much dye we need. So we're going to start our train tracks out with 50 pieces of fabric. We know that each piece, one piece, is 16.07 inches squared. And then they gave us this conversion. 5 inches squared is 2 ounces. So I'm going to make sure that that lines up. 5 inches squared is 2 ounces. And now everything will cancel as I multiply in terms of the units, pieces, inches, and I'm going to be left in ounces. So all I'm going to do is 50 times 16.07 divided by, times 2 divided by 5, right? We're going to divide by anything in the bottom. Multiply everything across the top. So it appears that we will need 321.4 ounces. 321.4 ounces of dye. Obviously, there are other ways you could have done this. You could have moved slower. You could have figured out how much dye you needed per heart. So you could have done this, divided by 3 times 2, or divided by 5 times 2. I need about 6 ounces of dye for every heart, and I need to do 50 of them. You could have also figured out otherwise. Then just the train tracks are how I'm going to set this up, because that reminds me of what we did back on exam 1.